In a small, quiet town lived a man who owned very little. His most prized possession, if you could call it that, was a single, tattered umbrella. It was old, with a few rips and tears, a fragile shield against the temperamental sky. One evening, as a cold, relentless rain began to fall, the man was heading home. The streets glistened under the dim lamplight, and the sound of raindrops drumming on the pavement filled the air. He pulled his thin coat tighter and opened his broken umbrella. It offered some protection, but the rain still found its way through the holes, trickling down onto his shoulders. As he hurried along, he saw a young mother huddled in a doorway, desperately trying to shield her crying baby from the downpour with just her hands. Her face was a mixture of worry and exhaustion. The baby's tiny cries were nearly lost in the sound of the storm. The man stopped. He looked at his leaky umbrella, then at the mother and her child. It was all he had to protect himself from the biting cold and rain. For a moment, he hesitated. Getting soaked meant he would almost certainly fall ill, but then he looked at the baby's small, vulnerable face, and his heart made the decision for him. He walked over without a second thought and held the umbrella over them. The mother looked up, her eyes wide with surprise and relief. "Please take it," he said, pressing the handle into her hand. "You and the little one need it more than I do." She was so moved she could barely speak, tears of gratitude mixing with the raindrops on her cheeks. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you so much." He just smiled, gave a small nod, and continued his journey home, unprotected, into the pouring rain. He arrived home shivering, his clothes completely soaked through. As he had feared, by the next morning, he was running a high fever, too weak to even get out of bed. He lay there alone and sick, thinking he had made a foolish sacrifice. But just as he was losing hope, there was a gentle knock on his door. He managed to drag himself up to open it. There stood the mother from the night before. She wasn't empty-handed. In one arm, she carried a basket filled with warm soup, bread, and medicine. "I came to return your umbrella," she said softly, "and to see how you were. When you didn't answer right away, I got worried." She helped him back to bed, fed him the warm soup, and made sure he took the medicine. Her act of kindness was the turning point. She visited every day until he was back on his feet. This story reminds us of a beautiful truth. Kindness is a circle. When you give, even when you have little, it creates a ripple that always finds its way back to you, often when you need it the most.